Welcome to Conversations in Colour, Lucy.
Thank you.
We are happy to have you here in our Hackney Road studio. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, everyone is very aware of your house in West London with the iconic blue front room that is on everybody's mood board.
I think I'm always kind of thinking about colour, whether it's in styling work or in design collaborations like you and me have just done, excitingly. There's always just kind of like different moods I go through with colour, things I want to seasonally change up at home. I actually love colour more in my home than in my wardrobe, weirdly, I think, apart from in the summer when I then start wearing a lot more colour. I know I'm talking about colour and I'm wearing white today, which I feel like I'm really letting the side down.
At Colours Valley, we're obsessed with telling stories through colour combinations. So we'd like to do a little bit of that with you today. You have selected these 3 colour combinations. So I would love to talk through your reasoning for them. Let's start with Coconut and Sunrise.
Growing up in the early 90s, everyone will have had a yellow room at some point. Like my mum went through a phase of just painting every room in the house, pale shade of yellow. I've always found yellow to be a bit nostalgic, a bit cozy. And if you watch retro movies, there's always a yellow kitchen and I kind of love that. So this was my kind of nod to that 90s nostalgia. But Coconut and Sunrise makes you think more pina colada than Middle England in 1992, but there we go.
Interestingly, we actually had a colour called Magnolia, and for the first year nobody bought it, and someone came in and said, I'd buy that, but the name puts me off. So we changed the name from Magnolia and everyone has bought it. It's our most popular colour.
I feel like Magnolia now is back, but we're just not calling it Magnolia. Like everyone wants a warm white. That's literally what Magnolia was.
Well, Sawdust was the colour. We renamed it Sawdust.
There we go. Case in point.
This brings us on to our next one.
Yeah.
Frost and Sawdust.
I am slightly obsessed with blue. Blue is a recurring theme. If I'm ever picking out colours for a house, I look at that and I think sort of like a taupey, grey, neutral. It feels very nautical, very Cornwall. Feels quite like I grew up spending summers in North Wales on the beach. It feels very seasidey, but I think they're both quite muddy colours. So to me, it doesn't feel twee. It feels quite grown up.
I agree that is very British. Like the sand dunes in North Wales. What are the places in North Wales that you've spent time?
We have always gone to 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒔𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏𝒔, which is like right on the prong at the top.
Wakestock.
Yeah, Wakestock. R.I.P. Wakestock. Those were some good times. Yeah, and I still go up every year. I love it.
Moving on to the 3rd colour combination. Yeah. This is kind of a wild card. We always want to know why people approach colour combinations and why people think of colour combinations. So why have you chosen Pigeon and Gravy?
I feel like purple gets a bad rap.
I agree.
But I feel like it's tempered by the gravy. I actually love chocolate, plummy brown and purple together. Purple can sometimes be the scratch that a room needs. Like if a room's feeling too perfect, too pretty, too coordinated, this kind of stripe together, you throw a cushion in that colour or vintage chair upholstered in it or something and it just like breaks it up. Sometimes you need an unexpected thing in a room.
Kind of like the red theory, but it's Lucy's purple theory.
I do like the unexpected red theory as well. Actually, controversially, I also think that Pigeon and like a bright postbox red look so good together as well.
Would you wear Pigeon?
Would I wear Pigeon? Do you know what? I would wear Pigeon. I've worn it before in a long jersey, full pigeon coloured dress. I'd love a pigeon bikini, not gonna lie.
For your coastal trips in North Wales?
I mean, we're more going Greece, Italy vibes rather than bringing out a pigeon bikini in North Wales. But you know, who knows?
In your current home, do you have Pigeon? Obviously, we've got the collection which you'd want in your current home, but do you have anything Pigeon in your house?
I do, but I have it through a piece of art, a massive painting by a painter called Heidi Becker in my kitchen that's like a massive purple still life of delphiniums. It is very purple and I absolutely love it. And actually lots of people are like, God, I would never have thought to have this big purple painting. But yeah, it looks great.
We've talked a little bit about you keep returning to blue. This is the colour you come back to.
Yeah.
And we've got Lucy's purple theory now. But what other kind of colours are you drawn to when approaching interiors?
It does depend on what sort of space I'm thinking about, but at the moment I am loving sort of dark browns, like muddy colours, whether it's like muddy yellow or a chocolatey brown.
Maybe like the gravy.
Yeah, I mean you've got a really lovely brown stripe here that I'm looking at. Like I love that kind of brown, those browny colours. I never used to be a green person and now we've bought in some greens for this collection. collection we've done. I feel like I love tonal colours, like chartreuse.
It's such a kind of like having a moment colour chartreuse that we were almost tempted to launch it as a colour, but we've tried to resist the colour trends.
Yeah, I love this kind of green. Didn't use green much at all when I was doing our house in London, but I now love this kind of green. Just feels very fresh, feels quite zingy. Again, like a little bit like you can just throw that into any room.
I think this is really nice against the wood as well in the collection, isn't it? That kind of like warm,
that warm
orangey
wood. Exactly. I'm really into a bit of cobalt at the moment.
Very popular.
I know. Even if it's just like piping on something. Love a cobalt blue sofa. That would be heaven.
You could have it with any of these colours, I think. Yeah, cobalt and a bright red seem to be our kind of like, we call them semi-neutrals, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
People say that people who don't like colour like red. They say people who like black and white like red.
Yeah,
But we also think cobalt blue applies to that. Like you could put it with this, you could put it with any of these. We've done a few bright pieces of cobalt furniture. Maybe we should have added a cobalt to the collection.
I know we should have done. I feel like purple though. I feel like it's just that a rule breaking colour. A bit like the shade that you guys did with patina 𝒏𝒔𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏𝒔. I feel like you know, red and green always used to be like, never put red and green together. And those are the colour combinations I'm most drawn to. Like
red and green together.
Brown and purple. Like those kind of colours that people used to be a bit scared of. I feel like now are kind of like the thing that sets the room apart from everything else.
Well, there's that rhyme, isn't there? Blue and green should never be seen without something in between.
Oh, okay.
You've not heard that?
No, I've only ever heard red and green should never be seen.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Maybe this rhyme is being plagiarised.
This whole rhyme needs to just be thrown out, I think.
It needs to be thrown out.
Yeah, 100%.
I think for the right green, the right red. I actually read an article about how red and green is no longer the Christmas stripe, and it is all over like...
No, definitely not. It just feels quite like Amalfi Coast, Italian, awnings outside places.
Okay, I have some questions prepared for you.
Okay.
Your favourite room in a house?
The sitting room, the room with the TV.
Are you a TV addict?
I'm a TV addict.
What are we watching at the minute?
Tiptoe on Channel 4. Really good.
A room is unfinished without
art. I actually can't really... If a room has not one picture on the wall.
Where can people buy good art?
I love vintage art. You can get some great sort of little oil paintings in markets, whatever. But I also love emerging galleries like Wandering People, Blue Shot Cottage. I find loads of artists on Instagram now that I really like.
What artists do you have in your house?
One of my favourite current artists, and I'm still waiting to find a spot to have one of his big pieces, is Hugo Winderland. He does lots of spooky, lots of sheep, lots of horses, lots of druid-like figures on the moors. But it's very abstract. It's very cool.
I feel like that's a little bit of a theme of the collection we've just done. With some of the furniture, like the folk chairs, as we've referred to them.
Quite folky. Yeah, I love that kind of thing. And I'll tell you one artist that I am really coveting at the moment, but I haven't actually got one of her pieces yet, is Romy Elliott. She does these really beautiful pictures of people with their dogs sleeping, animals. Feels really wholesome, but also really beautiful.
I actually got a painted portrait of my dog from my dad one birthday. It was so strange. I was in a restaurant and he was being really shifty. I was like, Dad, what's wrong? And he was like, I've got your present in the back. It's quite big. I was like, what is it? And he came out. It's this massive frame.
Oh, sweet.
Wrapped up in brown paper. I was like, what has he bought me now?
I
unwrapped it and it's an oil painting of Patch. And it's actually amazing. It's completely like
nice. There's an artist called Sally Muir. She does these amazing pictures of dogs where they're just like, she just gets their character. I would love one of those one day.
You need one for Finn. What would you save in a fire?
Finn.
Finn is with you outside.
My husband can fend for himself. I'll grab Finn.
The firemen are coming out of your house and they're like, what do you want me to run in back in and get?
This is quite sentimental, so maybe this is annoying rather than saying like a specific chair, but I actually keep any letter or card sent to me. So I have a box.
Every single one?
Family, friends, godchildren. So I have like thank you letters from my nephews when they were like 8. So I'd probably just grab that box.
I've got the pile of welcome baby cards
that's
at the
cute.
minute and I don't know what to do. I'm actually taking photos of them all. The first thing you notice in a room.
If there are books in there, I probably notice the books. I go straight to the bookshelves. I like seeing what people have on their shelves.
People can be judged by their library.
You know, do I judge? Probably, but then equally I would hate to be judged on the state of my bookcases because there's definitely a few things on there that I'm like...
I judged you on your bookshelf.
Did you? You judged me hard.
I think you passed. The best rooms feel, how do they make you feel?
Cosy. That's my favourite. Cosy, relaxed.
You do love the word cosy.
I love the word cosy. I think the best rooms make you feel a bit sleepy. In the sense that, you know, just like you feel very relaxed.
I feel like cozy might be because you grew up in the countryside,
Maybe,
in rural. My mum lives in Shropshire, and the fight to keep it warm is always
exactly.
forefront.
There's a bit of that. Warm, sunny rooms can be cozy. Oh, I just feel really relaxed.
Like the
Really
Higale.
chill. Yeah.
What is next on your interiors wish list?
I'm looking for the perfect coffee table for Cornwall, and I know exactly what I want. I just can't find it.
Vintage?
Yeah, of course. That's why it's so hard to find.
Okay.
So I have this idea in my mind, which is the worst thing to do when you're looking for something vintage.
Where is your go-to for vintage?
I mean, online, I'm always scouring like Vinteria and Decorative Collective. I love the old cinema in Chiswick, some of the places on Lily Road, going to Kempton, going to Ardingly.
Do you use any of the auction houses online?
I do, and I have bought some really good stuff from like auction houses, but I feel like I sometimes get carried away with finding things, and then actually you forget that like you've got to add quite a bit of percentage on top. That can sometimes be a bit of a stinger.
So what is your best vintage find? I feel like we've got a few in our collection.
We do. Some of those are really good. Maybe one of my best finds ever was an auction. They called it like a hearth stool, but it's actually an ottoman. And I feel like now you can find exactly this. Other people just make that exact same thing. But when I found it, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. It's got like fabric covered legs, and it was just perfect for the space.
Can you remember any first moment with vintage, like your first vintage shopping trip?
The first flat that I rented with an ex-boyfriend, and I went to Kempton, and I think we basically spent 200 quid and furnished the entire house.
Yeah, I feel like Kempton
I
prices
think
have gone
everything
up
was
slightly
covered
now.
in woodworm, and it was all like super. There was a lot of painted furniture back then.
The decorative painted.
Yeah, you know, the kind of like chalk paint.
Yeah. And we found some of our pieces that we've
There's still
reimagined
some real
at
gems
Kempton.
to find. Yeah, 100%.
In the rain, on that rainy January day.
We did, yeah. I still feel like you can find some really good pieces. Just have to get there really early now. It is not a secret.
Have you ever done the France trip?
Never. I would love to do that, but I think I'd quite like to take a van, and I'm not sure if I really trust myself driving a massive van around France.
I drove a massive van around Europe for 3 months, but we got to all the brocants and things, and we wanted everything.
Yeah.
But we were also living in the van, so.
Okay, so you're limited, yeah. No, I
Sorry,
would
it's my
love
baby in the
to-
background.
Yeah. That's always the thing when you go, like, when you're somewhere abroad and you're like, oh my God, that is so perfect.
Oh, it's awful.
That's exactly what I'm looking for, but you're kind of like, this is going to cost me as much as the piece to get it home, and it's just not.
Yeah, my friends are renovating a farmhouse in northern Portugal, and we recently went into shopping with them, and everything, I was like, I need it, and I couldn't fit it on my little flight. Okay, Lucy, thank you for all your colour nuggets.
Thank you.
And what's nice is, even if people don't have a space for these chairs in their homes, we have worked on a collection of cushions, so there are no excuses.
Yeah, no, exactly. I feel like cushions is just like a no-brainer way of just adding in whatever colours you're obsessing over at the moment. Throw in a striped cushion, you're like, it kind of scratches the... I keep talking about scratching today.
I feel like you should write an article about
Scratching itches in the house.
the scratch theory.
The scratch theory. You know, sometimes when you're just like, I really want to get that colour in my house, or I really want to do something, but you're like, actually, I don't have the time, the money, whatever, to actually plaster a whole piece of furniture in it. I love bringing in a new cushion.
Throwing a cushion on the bed.
Exactly.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.